Hello everyone and welcome back to Carwale. I'm Bilal and this is the Kia Seltos. Now we know when it comes to Seltos, there are a lot of powertrain choices. You have the petrol, you have the diesel, you also have the turbo petrol engine options. And when it comes to gearbox, you have the manual, the CVT, the DCT, the torque converter and an iMT as well. What we have here is the turbo petrol iMT combination, and in this video, we'll be taking a closer look at it. We'll be discussing 5 positive things and 2 negative things about it. We'll see how it is to drive and we'll see who should buy it and whether or not it's worth buying. So before we begin, do consider subscribing to the Carwale channel. If you like this video, which I'm sure you definitely will, hit that like button and share it forward as well. Now with this facelifted avatar, the older 1.4-litre turbo petrol has been replaced with a bigger 1.5-litre turbo petrol, and this iMT has moved from the naturally aspirated version to this. Now as Kia's product placement goes, there's no manual gearbox for this turbo petrol engine. You only get a slick yet expensive DCT and this iMT version. And when it comes to pricing, the DCT equipped version, it starts at almost a lakh rupees more than this iMT equipped version. Now this turbo petrol engine, it makes more horsepower than before. It's almost 160 horsepower and around 250 Newton meter, which is much more than the naturally aspirated version the iMT gearbox came with. Secondly, since there's no turbo petrol manual here, this is the closest you can come to the joy of rowing through gears and hitting the right notes of this turbo petrol engine, with the added benefit that there's no hassle of clutching in and out every single time. For the uninitiated, the clutch action here in the iMT is taken care of by an electronic actuator. And every time you're about to shift a gear, it intelligently senses and goes about the clutch action accordingly. You have to lift off the accelerator when you're shifting the gear though, for a smoother gear shifts. The iMT then is quite a good choice for those who have a knee problem, or those who have to face a traffic-prone commutes every single day, or those who don't want to spend a lot of money for the automatic, but want the convenience of a 2-pedal setup. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a powerful engine. It has almost 20 horsepower more than the older 1.4-litre turbo petrol engine, and that shows. It is evident right off the mark, where you know that there's a good amount of power reserved in the engine. So off the mark, it's silent and it's vibration free. But once you get going, there's good amount of low end grunt. Even before the turbo spools up, there's good amount of drivability from this engine. It's very tractable, it's noiseless, it's vibration free, and even the gear shifts are pretty free of those head nods if you do it correctly. But when you want to channel your inner stick, all you have to do is go slightly heavier on the throttle and the athletic side of the Seltos would be revealed. When you do the gear shifts properly and without the hassle of clutching in and out every single time, well, that fun is a reason enough to buy the iMT in my opinion. When tested on our V-Box, the acceleration figures remain quite impressive and not shy of the DCT equipped version. Here are the 0 to 100 km/h timings on your screen. Meanwhile, the in-gear acceleration figures were also impressive for 20 to 80 km/h in the 3rd gear and 40 to 100 km/h in the 4th gear. But that's about going fast in the Seltos iMT. But what about day-to-day drivability? So the iMT is, again, as I said before, it's very convenient. But say I'm in the 6th gear right now, going over speed breaker. It won't move ahead, it would prompt you on the instrument cluster to downshift. All you have to do is downshift without the problem of clutching in or out and you get going. Well, I've never had a problem in the 300 kilometers that I've driven the car so far of the engine stalling, except on 2 occasions. The second time I was trying to check whether the first time was correct. The first time the engine did stall was when I was looking for a parking spot. The gear was in 4th, the gear lever was in 4th, and I was about to go to 2nd and the engine stalled. Now I'm not sure what the reason was. Probably I was slightly on a downhill curve. But yeah, it did stall once, and just to check that it did stall, I tried to imitate it once again and it stalled once again. But apart from those 2 occasions, the engine or the iMT gearbox never gave me any reason to complain. So unlike an automatic gearbox, the iMT doesn't have a hill hold function. So if you are, say, stuck on a bridge in the traffic, you will have to hold on to the brake lever every single time, because it won't hold the car when you let go of the brake. And you'll have to do the accelerator and brake juggling when that occasion arises. But apart from that, contrary to the initial belief I had that I will take time to get used to this iMT's function without clutching in and out every single time, but no, that's not the case. You do get used to this pretty easily and pretty nicely as well. The problem arises when you move from this iMT to a normal manual gearbox. Over there, you might forget to just use the clutch, and that will definitely grind your gears. Now the next benefit of an iMT is mileage. Now we all know that the turbo petrol engines are quite temperamental. Even slight change in the way of driving or condition of driving, or even if a different driver is driving, all the fuel mileage, it goes out of the window. Well, we did subject the Seltos turbo petrol iMT to a rigorous and consistent car-wale fuel efficiency test, and the results weren't too surprising. Well, in the city loop, the fuel mileage that the iMT turbo petrol returned was little over 9 kmpl. And then on the highway, the mileage improved to around 16 kmpl. So an overall combined real-world fuel mileage of the Seltos turbo petrol iMT was little over 11 kmpl. And it has got a fuel tank of around 50 liters. So you could realistically go 550 kilometers between a tank full. Now, another positive thing about buying the Seltos iMT is the general factor of the Seltos' cabin. Now, the Seltos' cabin has been, since its introduction, been praised for its quality and the space and practicality as well. Now, when it comes to ergonomics, I think it is quite spot on. When you're reaching for the controls, it's quite reachable. The controls are light and easy, and your gear lever, it falls right into your palm when you're driving. And even the gear action, it's crisp and it's not notchy at all. I like the way the gears are slotted into it, despite the clutch being actuated by a sensor. Next up is this touchscreen panel, which is again part of the new design language that manufacturer has started to adopt, where the instrument cluster and the infotainment screen is integrated into one single panel. This is a much likable design compared to a floating touchscreen or the integrated one. It's easy to read, the touch is crisp and responsive. Even this all-digital driver's display, it has a very Windows XP-like background to it. So there's a road in middle and a greenscape all around it. And depending on what time you look at it, I think it changes its animation as well. So right now I can see a sun flare on the top left corner. But in the morning when I started the car, there were shooting stars on the right-hand corner. So this design, it's quite intuitive and I like it. But I wish there were drive modes in this car, which there aren't, and I wish the graphics could have been configurable as well. Even the handling is nice and easy. Going 3 turns lock to lock, it's not the quickest in the market, but the steering is well weighted and has quite a linear feel to it. As for the ride quality, it is a bit on a stiffer side, but far from the point of complaining. You can buy the Seltos Turbo Petrol with this iMT gearbox in 2 versions. You have the HTK Plus and the HTX Plus, and prices for both these versions are 15 lakh rupees and little over 18 lakh rupees respectively. Now, with this turbo petrol engine being offered with an iMT, makes this turbo petrol engine more accessible than the slightly more expensive DCT version. If you go for the HTK trim, it gets you all basic feature comforts like 6 airbags, all 4 discs, push-button start, an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, a digital driver's display, rear door sunshade, a 16-inch alloy wheel, automatic AC and cruise control. And the HTX Plus trim we are driving here in this video gets you a panoramic sunroof, front parking sensors, LED headlamps, sequential turn indicators, 17-inch crystal-cut alloy wheels, a bigger 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment system with inbuilt navigation, powered driver's seat and seat ventilation for both driver and passenger, dual-zone climate control, 8-speaker Bose sound system, wireless charger, ambient lighting and leatherette upholstery. Now that we have seen the positives, let's take a look at the flip side of this powertrain. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can buy this powertrain only in 2 trims, which gives you a price benefit. But for a buyer who wants to buy the Seltos in a higher trim, but with the convenience of the iMT, they couldn't get one. So if you can't buy the GT line or the X line, they will definitely miss out on some feel-good features such as ADAS, swanky looking bigger wheels, even drive modes and a 360-degree camera. Lastly, it needs to be pointed out that although the iMT has its own set of advantages, it's not for everyone. Proper enthusiasts who want the feel of a 3-pedal setup will not consider this. Meanwhile, those who want the convenience of a 2-pedal setup will surely look to buy a proper automatic. That's not even considering the driving feel and feedback from the iMT, which is not as engaging as a manual nor as convenient as a proper automatic. The target audience for this gearbox is quite small then. But the price advantage it carries over the automatic and a hassle-free experience it offers with a 2-pedal setup, we think buyers should give it a shot at least. So, the Kia Seltos Turbo Petrol iMT has got a lot going for itself. It looks good with the facelift, has a lot of features on offer, it is convenient and practical to live with. And it's very convenient to drive as well, if not fun. And that iMT gearbox, it has its own merits and demerits. So what do you think about the Seltos' iMT, and would you consider buying one? Do let us know your opinion in the comment section below. And if you like this video, do hit that like button and consider subscribing to the Carwale YouTube channel. And if you still have any more doubts about the Seltos' iMT gearbox, do write them down in the comment section below and I promise we will answer them all. That's all from this video. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.